Hey, 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 it's Friday night. You know what that means. It's time to sit around the table. I am your host, Vision Coach Alicia, and I am always excited on Friday nights because that means I get to sit around the table and chop it up with a very special guest. And nothing is different tonight. I have a very special guest. And tonight we are going to sit around the table and chop it up and get to know this awesome author, Shaii Wright. Hey Shay, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I am great. Welcome, welcome. It's great to have you here with us tonight around the table. You know, on Friday night, we could be doing just about anything, but this Friday night, we choose to come and sit around the table and share all about Shaii. So tonight, on Around the Table, it's all about you. So let's jump right into this. I don't get bios. I don't read bios because I believe that you know yourself better than a bio can tell me. So just tell us a little bit about Shaii and who she is.
So my name is Shaii Wright. I am a romance fiction author out of the Metro Detroit area. I work in marketing, 2 kids, a husband, 2 cats, a bunny. It's a madhouse over here sometimes. So no, I have a double master's in publishing and an MFA. I love storytelling. I love love. So I've been studying writing and fiction my whole time.
A romance fiction author. Yes. Well, that's a first for me. So I am super excited to explore all of this with you. Listen, everyone, when you come in tonight, I want you to pay attention. I want you to pay attention to what we're talking about, because one of the key things that she said is that she is a publisher. So right off the bat, I am going to ask you, is your book self-published?
Yes. Yes, it is.
It is self-published. Okay, yes. Great. Let me ask you this. How long is this your first romantic? This is your first?
This is my debut.
Your debut. And how long did it take you to write it?
Well, that's a complicated question. So I initially started the story in undergrad, so a little over 10 years ago. And then I shelved it for a while. And when I decided to go back for an MFA, part of the degree requirements is to finish a novel. So I picked it back up, and that process from when I picked it back up to completion took me 9 months.
Wow. So because I'm not familiar with that process, what type of mindset do you have to write a romance fiction? Now, I just published a book with 8 authors and it was released maybe about 3 weeks ago. And so I know, yes, what it is to write that type of book. But I am fascinated because I'm wondering what is going on in her mind when she is writing this. So what kind of mindset does it take to write a book, a fiction book of romance?
Oh, well, one, you have to be very curious. And start every day, every writing session with this mindset of what can happen next? What can I explore next? For me, it is all about how many different ways can I break my characters before I pull them back together. So I look for ways that I can add conflict to them, and really test the strengths of what love is, so that by the time they get to the end, they are fully in love and they've earned this moment of true love and true happiness, because they've been through the fire and they tested. Within the genre conventions dictate that you end in a happily ever after or a happily for now. So
Yeah.
I want to make sure that when we get to this happily ever after, the reader says, you know what? They earned a happy ever after, and I don't need to know anything else. I'm confident that they're going to go the distance.
Wow, that's awesome. So, how many characters are in this book?
So I have my two main interests, my two main characters, and then there's family. So my main character Tony is background on her. She's very non-committal. She's a ghoster. So when things get really tough with her family and with her relationships, she just leaves. So you have this relationship with her and her biggest love that she ghosted for reasons. And then also drama within her family with her mom, her dad, and her sister, where it
Uh-huh.
got hard there, and she ghosted them too. So those are the five, I believe. I can't count today. Those are the core members of the team of the book.
Wow. Okay, so let me ask you this question. I'm going to put the name because that really caught my attention. The Ones I Left Behind. How did you come up with that title based on what you're trying to say?
Titles are hard. I'm very wordy. um,
Okay.
so one of the things I really worked on was kind of exploring the themes of the book. So I did a full free writing thing where I just wrote down all the words that felt right and the themes that felt right within the book. And I settled on the Ones I Left Behind because it wasn't just that she left her love interest Bradley behind, but she also left her family behind. And they all come back at once. And they're all they're all the trial that she has to overcome. So it ended up being the story about all the ones that she left behind and having to address them.
This is so fascinating for me because I have never had an author on the show before that has written this kind of book, and this is your first volume, and so I know that there's going to be more because the story is going to be continuing.
Yes.
So I find it very fascinating. The Ones You Left Behind, and then it says Tony's eyes are on the future, but her past is quickly catching up with her. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So Tony is at the precipice of her career. At the start of the story, she is participating in a Black Media Fellowship. She's front runner to win the award. Her career as a journalist is really taking off. But one of the things that she has to do in order to submit the win is interview or write an article, write a piece about connecting the civil rights moments to now. And her father is a congressman and a civil rights legend. And what better way to really sell and build a beautiful story than to connect with your father, where you have an actual living legend, right?
Yes,
But she hasn't talked to her family in 10 years. So how does she go back to her father and say, hey, Dad, so I'm trying to win this award. Can I get this interview? And so that happens. And when she gets home, she realizes that, so Bradley being her biggest love, that he's also in the city, and everything just comes rushing up to her all at once. And she literally has days to figure this all out, to decide how she's going to address the people that she's ghosted.
Yes. Do you have the book anywhere near you right now? Let us
I
see. Let us see the cover of this book.
Isn't it pretty?
Awesome. It's beautiful. And later, I'm going to ask you to just read a little section. So think about whatever in there you may just want to let us in on, because I find this to be such a um awesome, romance is something that people fantasize about,
Hmm.
and they don't often. I don't think I could write a romance novel. Let me just, so I just applaud you for really doing this. Listen, I want to ask you, what would you say to someone who's really thinking about writing a book? What would you tell them?
Um, I would I would tell you, and this is kind of counterintuitive to what we kind of grew up with, right? But think about what the morals of the story are going to be. Like, no matter what, if you're going to write a fiction, nonfiction, whatever, right? Always think about what that moral of the story is, because your characters, your readers are on a journey to learn something by the end of it, right? So,
Yes,
as
yes,
you are thinking about what you're going to write, think about that moral, and then think about within fiction specifically what type of characters need to learn that story, need to learn that lesson, or even what kind of reader would need to learn that, right? Because sometimes your readers can be an insert, right, for the character, right, or the character is an insert for
yes,
the reader. Um,
yes.
so definitely consider that. Do all of the enneagrams and the disc charts and things like that to really build out that character. And like I said before, you're going to stay curious. You are going to, you know, follow a beat sheet because it helps, right? To kind of
Yes.
help with staying plotted, but always look for ways to bring in more conflict and then give them peace, and then bring in more conflict and bring them peace. But you're going to, it's a constant up and down to get through it. And then
To,
to get through the story, like to pacing wise for the story, right? And then,
yes.
mentally, it's definitely, it's an up and down for you too. There are going to be days you don't want to do it. There are going to be days you're like, this sucks. I don't know who told me I could write a book.
Book.
Because I had those days, and
Yes.
I have a creative writing degree in both undergrad and my master's. So I was, it hits you. So
Yes.
routines are important, you know.
Yeah.
So even if you, take 20 minutes and say, I'm just going to sit here and write something for 20 minutes, do that. And whatever you put on the page, count it all good and walk away from it. But it's a it's a tenacity game, and you just got to
Wow.
be willing to push through every single bit of this is hard that's going to show up.
Hi.
That's my sign. What do
That's okay. Listen.
you
So, how long has your book been out?
It came out March 7th.
March 7th, and you
Mm-hmm.
have it on these platforms: Amazon,
Yep. Barnes and Noble,
Barnes
and
and
then
Noble,
yep, and then my website shaiwright.com.
and your personal website. So
Yes.
how has your sales been going?
They were really great when I started. And then I'm going to tell you, just like writing a book, marketing is work. So
Yes.
I had a burnout. So I am really ramping back up on marketing and putting the book back out there. So we're in a bit of a decline, but I'm doing the
Okay.
work again.
Well, listen, those of you that are listening to Shay tonight, there are not a whole lot of African American romance writers. I've seen some in Walmart. I've seen looked at some in Barnes and Noble, but there's not a whole lot. So I want you all to support her. I want you to go on Amazon. I want you to go on Barnes and Nobles, and I want you to go on her personal website. You see it running across the screen. The name of the book is The Ones I Left Behind by Shaii Wright. Let's support her. you start to read this book and get intrigued because it's a series. There's going to be more of this book because it has not ended. It's just being heightened. So let's get behind her and support her. Shaii, let me ask you a question.
Yes. Give me
What?
one second.
Okay, no problem. When you are in the process of writing and keeping yourself in that frame of writing, there will be distractions. We understand that.
Yeah,
We
son knocked it
understand
out.
that even with a show, that sometimes things go wrong, there are distractions. And that's why we sit around the table and we chop it up because it's not this prestige place that you have to be perfect. So it's quite okay.
Thank
Um,
you.
the main thing is that we want people to know is that we have authors out there. This show is about authors, it's about coaches, and it's about entrepreneurs. And we're here to highlight them and highlight their works. So it's always a pleasure when one of you come to this table. So let me ask you this. How did you put the cover together? What creative mindset came to put in your cover? Because that's one of the things I've written about, probably 5 books. 3 are workbooks, one is a storytelling book, and then this one that I just wrote with 7 other women.
Mhm.
This was the hardest cover for me to put together. So you tell me how you come up with putting your covers together.
First of all, I hired a really great graphic designer. I
Okay.
started there. And
Yes.
she was able to really dig into what I was thinking and some of the themes. So, things that I pulled some examples of other fiction romance books that were in the market, just to get an idea of what audiences and what readers were clicking on. I
Yes.
started there. And then it was, I knew what colors I wanted based off of some of the things that were happening in the book. So I was like, I want blue, I want a turquoise, I want black and
Yes.
smoky. And I was actually more towards gold, but with the color palette and the model that she found, the silver worked better than the gold, which is again why you have a graphic designer to make these decisions.
Exactly.
She and I hopped on a call on a Zoom, and we sat there and we looked through all the models that we could that we thought would work. And when I woke up the next morning, she was like, voila. And I was absolutely in love. I think we had one draft where I was like, not quite that one. Um, and then she pulled this one out and I fell in love instantly.
Wow. I went
Yeah.
through basically the same process, and I thought that I was giving the graphic artist a hard time because I had something in mind. Um, and when she came with what she had in mind, I was like, But then in the end, I went back to what she first had in mind and
Yep.
combined it with my thought and my vision, because that is always so important, your presentation
Yep.
of what someone is going to see on the shelf when they go reach for that book, because it represents who you are.
Yep.
Listen, you are listening to Around the Table. I am your host, Vision Coach Alicia. And this evening, my guest is Author Shaii Wright. And she has written this dynamic romance novel. It's a fiction novel, and it's called The Ones I Left Behind. It is available now on all platforms such as Amazon. It's available on Barnes and Noble, and it's also available on her website. You will see that running across the screen in just a moment if you want to order her book. Shaii, how much is the book?
It's $14.99 for the paperback and $3.99 for the ebook. It's also in Kindle Unlimited. So if you have a KU subscription, you can read it for free off the KU library.
That's awesome. Did you hear that? It's available on Kindle. It's available in an ebook, and you can also buy it in the paperback. Guess what? $14.99. We have to become more um, readers today, and so that's why it has so many varieties of things that you could choose to read from. And I think that yours is just really off the chain because I have not ran into the 2 years that I've been doing the show, the diversity of having that happen where there's actually a romance and it's going to be a series. And I'm so excited. I'm thinking also, listen, y'all, this will make a great stocking stuffer. The holidays are coming. Get two,
Yes.
three, and give them to a friend. Shay, what would you like to read out of your book tonight for our audience tonight?
Yeah, let me go find the page. It
Okay,
is I'm actually gonna read the scene where Tony and Bradley first meet.
okay.
So
Tony and Bradley are your main characters.
yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Uh, do.
all
Usually I
right.
have my ebook open so I can search a little easier. So
That's okay. You'll find it in just a moment. Listen, I am sitting with Shay Wright. She is freezing in Michigan right about now,
it is
while I am in
cold.
here in nice, sunny U.S. Virgin Islands, and we're having this awesome conversation about her book. If there's a question that you may want to ask her, something that you'd like to know, please put it in the comments, and we will grab it from the comments, and we will get your question answered.
This way.
Okay? And so let's continue tonight. Are you ready?
Almost. I'm just
Almost.
gonna pull it up on my phone.
Okay, it's easier, huh?
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
gonna save myself some stress.
okay. This is Around the Table, and you can tune into us every Friday evening. We are here at 9 p.m. AST time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so grab yourself something to drink, like I have, sit around the table for about 40 minutes with me and listen to who my guest may be, whether it's a coach, an author, or an entrepreneur, and just join us and get to know what's going on Friday nights. Okay.
Okay. So just the setup. Tony is off in college right now. This is the first time she'll meet Bradley. She's having a rough time because it's it's the anniversary of her grandparents passing. And things aren't going well with her family. She hasn't officially ghosted them yet. And her friend dragged her out to an open mic night. Tony is um, a musician. She also plays guitar and piano. So that is
Okay.
where
She's
we will
talented,
start.
huh? Hi,
She
Nona. Thank
is.
you for tuning in.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we'll have one more performer before we take a short break because your girl is hangry, Talia said with her signature nasally laugh. Next to the stage, this sister is a regular who always. Let's give it up for Brooke. Hearing my stage name, Kenya nudged me with a rebellious smile. I told you I wasn't performing today, I said under my breath. And I told you it was time you get out of the funk. Now go before you make this awkward. Your public awaits. I rolled my eyes and walked to the stage. I didn't know what to sing, but I knew it would come to me. Music is the one thing I don't overthink. It flows from me organically, absent of my influence. Talia hugged me and pointed me to the guitar in the back corner. When I walked on stage, I sat on the bar stool, settling into the atmosphere, finding my center while I debated what to sing. I didn't have anything planned tonight, I said, but I have a very pushy friend who doesn't like the word no. I paused at the light laughter. To say that this has been a rough week would be a gross understatement. I sighed and looked up at the wood beams in the ceiling, my grandfather weighing heavy on my mind. I took a moment to gather myself. So I'm going to play a rendition of Love Me or Leave Me that my grandfather used to sing to my grandmother. And this song is dedicated to them. I closed my eyes and strummed the first chord, playing each note individually until the chord was full. I scanned the audience. Most people looked at the stage, but one set of warm brown eyes in the front row made me do a double take. He wore a white t-shirt with red lettering that showed every flex of his biceps. He had medium brown skin and short, tight curled starter locks. His lips were weighted with desire, but it was his eyes that pulled me in. I fell into the depth of his stare. The English language is too pedestrian to adequately describe the world's shift as we stared at each other. The way gravity redistributed itself, anchoring me to him and not the earth. How the earth tilted towards him so that I could be closer to him. The room darkened and a singular light shined on him. He never broke our stare. His eyes were pools of melted honey that flowed with tender promises of lust, passion, and romance. He smiled softly and inclined his head, beckoning me to deliver. I strummed
Ooh,
the opening chord again, one note at a time, building the anticipation to the first note, the first word, the first line out of my mouth. I knew what it was, and although it was too soon for the request, I sang it with the reverence of a prayer. Love me, see me, say I'm worthy. His lips parted, and I wondered what they'd feel like against mine. On my neck, kissing trails down my sensitive center. How soft were they? His bottom lip gave a little bit when he bit it.
girl, you need to stop, okay? You need to stop because there's somebody out there having a real rough time right now, and I don't want you to tell them your whole book. They need to go buy this book. Your imagination of a romance novel is intriguing. Listen, I need you. How many chapters are in your book?
Uh, 26.
26 short chapters.
Ish. Some
Oh
of them.
my goodness. Listen, don't forget. This book is only $14.99. It is available on Amazon.com as well as Barnes and Noble and on her personal website, ShaiiWright.com. Please support her. As we sit around the table tonight, the insight that we're getting, the understanding that we're getting from what it takes to write a romance novel is quite different from just writing a book. You have pulled us into the audience. When you said he was sitting there in a white t-shirt, his eyes, I said, okay, calm down, go get the book and read it. I think that this is just fantastic. I applaud you. And you self-published the book.
I did.
B-
I did.
You, did you say that you had a degree in publishing
Yes, I have a
or
master's in publishing. Yep.
a master's in publishing? So you're able to publish this whole series yourself.
Yep.
Listen, I want you to know this, that tonight that you have given someone else that will hear this broadcast or listen to it that intriguing. Hi, Kimberly. How are you? Thank you for joining us tonight. We are excited whenever someone comes on that uses their gift. It's not just writing, but it's using that gift and using that talent that was given to them so that they can open up doors for others to really see. I'm telling you, I had to stop you because I was getting so into it, and I realized that others will be able to as well. Thank you, Nona. Nona said that that was good. It really
Thank you,
was.
Nona.
And so I'm going to encourage you tonight and allow you to know it took you a long time to write the first one, but it's not going to take you that long to write the second one because now you have the dynamics together, you have the pieces together, you have your characters together, and that's a Tony
Bradley.
and Bradley, strong names, strong names. And so I am just encouraged. Listen, just before we get ready to end, I want you to speak to your heart, um, to the audience, and tell them whatever it is that you would like them to know about you and why you wrote the book, um, why you believe that there's more authors out there that should come forward. Just talk to the audience. Just let them know what you think. I'm going to jump off the screen.
So I am passionate about storytelling. It's literally the one thing that I've always wanted to do was sit and read books all day. So even as early as middle school, I knew I wanted to go into publishing. I wanted to be an editor. I didn't necessarily know that writing would be the direction I would go in. But my biggest passion has always been to help other writers write books. So I started writing books so that I could learn what it takes to get through it. And I don't know if I'd be able to coach other writers on that perseverance, right? Because technique is one thing, structure is one thing, but even the mental fortitude to get through it, I don't know if I would have had that, insight had I not gone through this process and fell in love with it as a writer myself. So for me, it's, if you have a story to tell it, and it's worth it. Someone needs to hear it. Someone wants this story. It's not just you. And then, build your network, build your team, get an author coach, get a great graphic designer, get cheerleaders in your corner that will push you through those days. Hire a fantastic editor, and really do it, because it's your story to tell and no one else can write your story. There's no other way for your story to be told in the world if you do not physically do it yourself. And I guarantee you there is an audience for it. There is a message in it for someone. Like I said, I just have a passion for stories. So.
Wow. That's great. And that's what it takes. It takes that passion to keep going, even when it looks like it's not working out, even when it looks like, because I'm telling you, there were some times when I was writing with these other ladies that I felt myself, this is too much. They're not following instructions. A couple of them dropped out and I was getting a little discouraged, but the passion that I had to make sure that these stories of these women got into the hands of the readers is what kept me going. And so, Kim, you said you too. Yes, there is that writer in all of us. Some of us it may be for a book, some of us it may be for poetry, some of us that's why there's so many different versions of our gifts and of our talents. And I so appreciate you tonight for stopping by around the table, Shaii, and
thank you for having me.
us your journey as an author. And I believe that by the time you get to your third novel of the series, it is going to be blown up so big that we're going to be hearing all about you and your endeavors. Listen, you are listening to Around the Table. We are here every Friday night at 9 a.m. AST time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we sit around the table very casually and just chop it up, either with an author, a coach, or an entrepreneur, and we just talk about whatever it is that they are doing. And so tonight, it was my pleasure to sit at this table with Shaii Wright, the author of The Ones I Left Behind, a romantic fiction novel. And so I invite you to go to her website and support her. It's only $14.99. You can get it on Amazon. You could get it on Barnes & Noble. You could get it on her personal website, ShaiiWright with a W.com. So Shaii, I want to say thank you for taking the time out to come and be my guest this evening. And let this not be the last time that you're here. You're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
We get off so that the audience could see the book, the cover. You have the book. Hold it up one more time. There it is. Beautiful book. Go get this novel. Yes, we read a lot of other things. We read the Bible, but some of us need some romance in our life. Get the book, read it, and support. God bless you, and thank you again so much.
Thank you so much for having me
and being a part of Around the Table. Thank you. So, listen, until next Friday.